everyone, welcome to Zama Podcast, where we spark meaningful conversation that inspires transformation, changes mindset, and also shapes a generation that is grounded in truth and purpose. So, as we are on this season's theme, which is the theme of my identity or the story of my identity, we are honored today to have a special guest that she is going to speak about her journey of discovery, which is in line with our theme. So stay tuned and watch this episode. Enjoy, because I am sure your lives are going to be transformed through her story. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give it all for Madam Mary. Madam Mary, how are you?
Fine, thank you,
You
Madam
look
Praise.
beautiful.
Thank you so much. You look beautiful too.
Thank you so much. Today, I just want you to tell our viewers who Madam Mary is.
Thank you very much, Madam Praise, for your invitation. I am very humbled for this invitation. Mary, as you're calling me, Madam Mary Kawira, or Mrs. Karima. I am a mother, and that is what I pride on so much than anything else, because that is what makes me wake up every day. I am a mother of 3 daughters and 1 son, two teenagers and 2 grown-up kids.
Okay.
And that's what makes me wake up every morning. I think I pride being a mother than anything else. Uh, I'm also a teacher, lecturer at the Kenya Institute of Management, and also a part-time lecturer at the University of Nairobi. And more so, I am a student throughout my life. I think in my profession, I have been a student more than anything else. So I love learning. And now maybe you would like to know where the journey started. Did I start as a teacher? No, actually, I didn't like the profession of a teacher. I am professionally a tour guide. That is my first profession. When I completed the O level, I did a course in tour guiding and administration at the Kenya Utalii College. So you can imagine, and now the turn of events. It was not like I ever thought I would ever be a lecturer at some point or even teach in a higher learning institution. But I think I didn't like the story of my background. Uh, I come from a humble family where my dad was a teacher, and I didn't like, the life we used to live. In fact, I always tell people I would remember every end of the month, my dad would carry a jerrycan of paraffin, and I would just wonder now, we will only be seeing lights only when it is the end of the month. So I was never inspired being a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to join the tourism industry and become a tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
I was a tour guide, German speaking, French speaking, but I realized I was born to be a teacher, because most of my time I would just be with the tourists, giving them explanations on the different types of touristic circuits in our country. We'd go to the national parks, and I would explain the gestation period of animals, the plants, the trees, and everything else. So everybody would call me a teacher tour guide. So I thought then that is my purpose. So it was not quite easy, but that's how I discovered I am a teacher. So what did I do? As you all know, the tourism industry here in Mombasa has been facing a lot of challenges. So some time I found myself jobless, and when I went out there, I got a job as a tour guide tutor, and that's where my journey started, and I started loving the job of a teacher. So I decided to go back to school, and I remember just one day visiting the University of Nairobi, and I talked to the coordinator by then, and I said, I actually want to join the University of Nairobi, and all what I want is become a lecturer. And there I embarked on a journey where I changed my career. I did a certificate in public relations, and that was many years back when I was still a mother. And after that, I just actually continued with my studies all the way to currently doing a PhD in project planning and management. So for me, this is something that I've never or I never thought about. I never thought at some point I would be in a university doing a PhD, and you know that was life changing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So wow, that is so nice.
Yeah.
I think you are here to inspire someone by
Yes.
that story.
Yes.
So I would really love to understand you more, especially when you're talking about your background, talking about your father being a teacher and how you grew up. I would really love to know about your childhood.
Hey, that's a bit exciting or very nostalgic, because I remember I was such a naughty child. That
Uh-huh.
I always tell everyone, and I think that has even given me another role of mentorship, because the many questions I ask myself, if I was not that naughty girl, I would now be somewhere in somewhere different. I would not be a lecturer. Maybe I would be a VC in a university, or even a professor. I was quite naughty, very cheeky,
Mhm.
and but along the way there is a way you maneuver, and by the God's grace I was able to complete Form 4. And I think being a firstborn in our family, my dad and my mom were really very careful that I'm able to complete Form 4, but it was not easy. I wouldn't say I was that good child, that, I used to have my cheeky behaviors. I remember many a times I used to escape school. I used to, go out, go buy bread for, I was in a boarding school most of my time. I go
Mhm.
buy bread. I was quite tiny, and I remember one time I even decided to go back to our head teacher, because actually she would always give a story about me. The last time we had such a girl, and she would just quote some years back.
Mhm.
So it means I was not really a good student, but how I made it by God's grace.
Okay. So I would really want to understand when you're talking about how you made it, it means that there is something that triggered you to get from to triggered you to your realization.
Mm.
So when was that, and how did you, what is this thing that really triggered you to become that nice person? Because right now, the way I have interacted with you for quite some time,
You
you're a
know,
very nice person.
Well, what I really tell people is that when people are growing up,
Mm-hmm.
there are certain challenges that teenagers face, and sometimes it's just about them wanting to explore, nothing much. Because after Form 4, I realized, now what was I doing? In fact, I remember when I was completing my O levels, my dad was not actually talking to me, because I had just completed my Form 4 after being suspended for 2 weeks. And maybe I didn't actually, I was such a funny student, because I didn't even have any books when I was in Form 4. I actually, my desk was empty. In fact, I would just get a piece of paper. In fact, and up to today, there's a former classmate of mine. When we met, maybe after 3 decades, she asked
Mm-hmm.
me, "Do you still have my books?" That was a joke, because I was just to read people's books.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say, I was in a school that was uh, Catholic, and yeah, not a very good school, but I managed to score a C grade. And that time, a C grade was good. Imagine, it was the second. You can imagine. So I was a bright student.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
sure. Yes.
So, what is that point that made you to make a turn? Did you
When
have someone to talk to you, or?
actually nobody talked to me, and I always tell people, and the young girls, that I wish those days we'd have the mentorship programs that nobody used to tell us, don't do this. It's like you're just being scolded, and nobody is giving an explanation. So it just instant. I think I just felt enough is enough.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think maturity, I must say, I became more mature.
Okay.
Mm.
So, what are the challenges that you, as a young girl growing up and finding out who you are, later on finding your purpose, finding yourself once again. What are the challenges that you went through in the journey of discovery?
Some of the challenges that I went through was uh, being from a family where my dad was a teacher. And okay, I wouldn't want him to hear this, but used to drink, and we never used to have such a good life. But he loved us. That is something for sure. I know he loved us. And of course, I think drinking is not something we really can judge people about, because it is addictive. It's normally addictive. So sometimes there's nothing you would have done about it. But what I know, he loved me even as a firstborn. Even up to today, I'm just a favorite. So one of the challenges was uh, we did not get our very basic needs. It was not easy, because I remember sometime, okay, being a firstborn, I went to boarding school, and after class 8, my second sister was not able to join boarding school, and later on there was that sibling rivalry, and it's like I became the favorite, and then the other family members were like, hey, dad loves Mary more than the rest. So the challenge was like, I am the loved one, and many things would just not work on my side because of the idea that they felt that dad loved me more than anything else. Other challenges included, mom. Mom was also a bit sick when we were in school. By the grace of God, she's still alive after today, and she was quite sickly, mom, even when we were in school. So most of the time, we'd have to put up with going home to see her when she's sick, getting admitted, and it was not an easy thing for us.
Wow, that is so touching about you. So I would really love to know, now that you have become you, the current you, Madam Mary, the lecturer, the mentor, the mother, a wife. I would really love to know, do you feel at a certain point regretting about what happened, if you could have found the light earlier than the time that you discovered yourself? Or you feel, and apart from that, do you feel like you're living your complete life, like in your dreams?
What I can say is that I feel like I have achieved, because I may not have so much like money wise, but I feel I am fulfilling my purpose. And maybe about the life I lived, I really don't regret much, because if I look back and see the very good girls that we used to say they are good, and they used to get all the accolades that they are good in behavior, they're also now asking me, Mary, what happened? You're now doing your PhD. So they are most of them, of course, are the opposite. They may not have achieved, maybe like gone ahead to the university. I think even at our class, I might say so far I'm the only person who has attained the level of a PhD, and they say, Mary, they were used to be naughty. What happened? You such a crazy girl in school, and now you are almost being a doctor. And so it's not something I can regret. And I think sometimes those are challenges that made me finer. Yeah.
Okay, so I would really love you to tell me something about, or to tell the viewers who are mothers or who are looking forward to becoming mothers. If, for instance, right now I know you've studied a lot, and if you look back, if you are like, for instance, you're a mother right now, you'd know how to handle a child like you, a naughty girl, anyways, or a naughty child. What advice would you give out there to parents who have that kind of children?
What I can say is that always be vigilant, or just watch out. Of course, it's always good. I always tell most parents, you have to be the D, that is the dog. You have to bark. You have to shout. Even me, I shout.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I realize, because I realize there's some kids, like my daughter who has taken after me, and even the family members would actually say, it is you. This, in fact, if she does anything and everybody says it is you, because they knew what kind of a person I was when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot just let it and say, let
It
it
is
be,
me.
but you have to bark.
Yeah.
And that is, you have to, I tell people, you have to be like a dog, barking to your kids.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to shout.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to be like the dog. Okay, you have to carry the burdens, because sometimes when teenagers are growing up, there's so much, and they are really not understanding what is happening in their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's confusion. So you have also to carry their burden. Just understand you're also there. Don't behave like you're never there. It's like you passed that stage. So it is possible that they're also getting a lot of information out there. Be there, carry the burden, and then you also be the cat. Also shield them, love them, just after barking and doing the shouting, don't just leave them. Just at some point have a conversation. I love you, that's why I'm telling you ABCD, so that they don't get out there for some other people to tell them that they love them.
Okay. So, as you were talking about your journey,
Yes.
I realized like at first you had not discovered your purpose or your identity, and now later on you discovered, and now you started working towards achieving where you are now, right now, and also you're still continuing to do it. So I would really love to hear what advice you'd give to that teenager or to that young lady or to that young man who is in 20s, or that young person who is out there in this generation of Gen Zs, Alphas. I'd really love you to share something to them and tell them that are struggling with this identity.
So before you discover your purpose, you will have done many things, and there's nothing wrong about that. And like me, I've done so many things. I have sold Skuma Wiki, I have done printing, I have done so many other things. I have actually even sold charcoal to make a living. But sometimes there's that thing that you do and you feel that inner satisfaction. It's not all about money. When you do something that is changing people's life, of course, we shall be doing many other things because we want to make a living, but it is important that you keep discovering yourself as time moves on, because times change. I never thought I would be like a lecturer at some point. In fact, I wanted to be a journalist, and I would practice reading journals, but I am not a journalist now. But at some point, I did public relations and I found myself writing stories. So some purposes will come, others will go until you find your real purpose. But as you find your purpose, it's always good to do something, volunteer, do something, and just change lives, create a smile in somebody's face. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you'll realize what your purpose is.
Oh, that has been nice to hear, actually. Yeah. So, maybe to our viewers, I would really love you to tell them your social media handles and where they can find you, and if you have one, or if you're planning to have one. Okay, do you have them first?
Currently, I have Mary Kawira Kivinji in Facebook, and I have one Instagram, still Mary Kawira. Of course, others are still coming.
Okay.
When and okay, I'm yet to update my social
Okay.
media accounts.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. So you can find her on Facebook at Mary Kawira Kibinji.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, viewers, for watching this episode. It's been nice having you. And remember, if you've been blessed, remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment. And remember to wait for another episode as you turn on the notification bell. Remember, Zamar is the home where we spark, transform, and uplift. Bye till next time.